Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined by Elliot Grigg. We are once again in preview mode. We are on the undercard of Chris Smith against Zurdo Ramirez in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Saturday the 16th of November. We're talking about the big lightweight clash between William Zepeda, the undefeated William Zepeda, and Tevin Farmer, of course, a former world champion. Before we get into the video, Elliot, and dissect this fight and ask numerous questions about it, if you're watching this video and do not subscribe to the channel, please do so. There's a little icon in the corner that'll tell you how to subscribe to the channel. That way you'll not miss any of our content, whether it's interviews with fighters, big fight breakdowns, previews like these, betting tips, shows, reviews, previews, whatever it is, we've got you covered from all angles, all of your boxing needs under one roof. And yeah, please do also like this video and let us know in the comments your thoughts. Elliot, as I mentioned, Zepeda Farmer this weekend, a really good fight on what's a pretty decent card in Riyadh, as we've come to see on numerous occasions now when Turki Al Sheikh puts on a boxing show in Riyadh season. This is another good fight. Undefeated fighter against the former world champion, as I mentioned, southpaw against southpaw as well, which we don't see too often. But before we kind of get into this fight as such and kind of maybe talk about it and give our prediction at the end of this video, I want to ask you a different question. I want to know who at lightweight beats William Zepeda. I know he's not a world champion. I know he hasn't even fought for a world title, which is kind of amazing to think. I think he maybe does deserve to have fought for a world title already. But who do you think, if anybody, can actually beat William Zepeda at lightweight?
Delicious questions. First of all, thank you very much, Paul, for the eloquent introduction. Tough, because like you say, undefeated fighters in William Zepeda as well. Like you say, probably should have had a world title shot by now. What's it, 27 stoppages and 31 victories as well. So obviously carries power. I think tough question. So I looked down that list. You got the likes of Loma, got the likes of Tank, Shakur Stevenson, Isaac Cruz, other than Baranchik. I think for me, I think Tank beats him. I think it's a good fight, but I think Tank touches him. It won't go 12 rounds, obviously. I think Tank stops him. Lomachenko's a tough one for me because Loma's obviously got a lot of miles on the Tank, but I think Lomachenko, if he's kind of still, as we saw him last time out, I think Lomachenko would win. I think he'd beat Zepeda. Shakur, special fighter. We talked about him, haven't we, many times. I think Shakur would find a way as well. But I think beyond that, I think Zepeda would win everyone out of the division. I think he's got, obviously, like you say, the likes of Baranchik, who is a world champion. I think he beats Baranchik, frankly, if they were to fight. I think Muratai, all those other names sort of kicking around. I think for me, he's the best beneath those names I mentioned. So Tank, Shakur, Loma. I think then you're looking at Zepeda, frankly, in that division. So if he doesn't come against three of those, which, let's be honest, I know people obviously criticised Tank and the sort of opposition he's fought, but you're looking at three potential all-time greats there. But when it's all said and done, I think after that you're looking at Zepeda fourth in that division. How about yourself? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me?
Yeah, I think he's good. I think he should have won even at fought for a world title already. William Zepeda, again, depends how it works out. It doesn't really work that way in boxing sometimes with politics and mandatories and whatever happens. But without having, I suppose he doesn't have that that one win where you're like, right, he deserves this world title shot. But you do look at the way you beat Maxi Hughes. You kind of destroyed Maxi Hughes, for want of a better phrase. And look at the fits Maxi Hughes gave George Kambosos Jr. And Kambosos obviously beat Teofimo Lopez. I know that was maybe a Teo's off night, but yeah, he's a world champion. Fought twice against Devin Haney. I know lost all 24 rounds or whatever it was, but Maxi Hughes beat Kambosos in many people's eyes. Zepeda destroyed Maxi Hughes, beating Jojo Diaz as well. Tanajara is another good win, as is Roberto Ramirez. And they're all good wins. And I think that it's a matter of when he fights those names that you alluded to, your Gervonta Davis, your Shakur Stevenson, your Vasyl Lomachenko. I don't think he wins all of them. Right now, I would actually agree with you. I still back Tank. We clip him at one stage, maybe. We'd like to see how he reacts as well. If he does get caught on the whiskers by a big shot, we don't really know. We haven't seen that happen to William Zepeda yet. But equally, he's a massive puncher himself. So who knows? He could put it on Tank and it could be something else could go flip in the other way. Shakur, I think, special. I think Shakur is the best in the division. Whether or not he'll prove that with unifications or whatever, winning world titles, in multiple weights going forward. It remains to be seen. Loma I still have as an elite. Like a lot of people actually think he maybe beat Devin Haney. The only thing is really the age, and I suppose the size difference would be quite substantial. There, I'm still high on Vasil Lomachenko. I still think he's an elite fighter. Then you kind of, yeah, as you mentioned, I do have William Zepeda just below that, so he's top five in the division definitely for me.
Mm. Mm.
When you look at potential fighters on the up, your Andy Cruzes, who looks like he could go on to be special, like a special amateur, of course. Even your Keyshawn Davis as well, who obviously we saw a fight a week or two back there. I think they're obviously the future names of the division. Maybe if Tank was, I know they're still young and so Shakur, but like when Loma's not there and you have the likes of William Zepeda, Shakur might move up another weight division. Tank, we don't really know. Sometimes goes long periods of absence, and don't know whether he might even move up. I know he's not a big fighter, but seems to like to move around the weights as well. William Zepeda will win a world title for me. Um, but I don't see him beating any of those names you mentioned. So for me, yeah, Tank, Shakur, and Lama right now are the three names I think beat him. But apart from that, I would probably back William Zepeda to beat anybody else, which kind of might give away my predictions somewhat for this fight. But before we come on to predictions, mate, he is of course up against Tevin Farmer, a former world champion, seasoned veteran. Even though he's still only 34, not too old, been around the block, had what 40 fights. Um, yeah, he's beaten some good names as well, the likes of James Tennyson, John O'Carroll, Fonseca. Been in the ring with Pedraza, Jojo Diaz, Muratala. He's been around for a while and been in with these big names. But even though he's only 34 and he's not doesn't have too many miles on the clock, do you think Tevin Farmer perhaps is on the slide right now?
It's so tough, isn't it? Because you look at that record, like the 33-6. I almost feel like when it was that run, wasn't it? Around, like you said, you mentioned sort of 2017, sort of 2019, the sort of Agawa, when obviously that was no contest after the sort of drugs issue. But the Tennyson, Fonseca, Carroll, that sort of run where you can actually everyone sort of taking notice of Tevin Farm here. Then he obviously had lost to Diaz, who Zepeda's beaten, and then obviously we mentioned Muratala in the division. Obviously he's coming into this fight having lost to UD to Muratala. So I feel like, for me, it's almost feel like this is a chance for Zepeda to really stand out and make a statement against him, frankly. Like he's lost to Muratala. Zepeda comes in here and like really sort of blitzes him out of there. People in the division start taking notice, probably go straight from there into world title shot. So I feel like, in a way, like it's so hard because in a way, yeah, I think you'd have to say probably he's on the slide from that kind of high watermark of sort of 2019, but he's still a live fighter for me. So it's a very hard fight still. It's an awkward fight. It's still a very tough fight. But I think, yeah, if you look back to how he was performing against those names back then, yes, and then you sort of get into that kind of record of 33-6 doesn't necessarily look like it's going to give you the sort of the sort of world honours or the chance to climb to the top of the division, does it? As sort of shameful and sad as that is, with the sort of 6 in the losses column, we tend to sort of obviate that. So I think, yeah, for me, he is on the slide, but I still think a very dangerous fight and a very tough fight. And I'm hoping that when we do come to predictions, that you'll be chivalrous and go first to avoid, to avoid having to make any different decisions. But yeah, no, I do think he's on the slide slightly. What about yourself?
Yeah, man, I think he's past his best. I think maybe sometimes we're too quick to say fighters are washed as such. I'm not saying that by any stretch, but I think naturally he probably is on the slide. I think he did peak a long time ago. Hasn't been overly active as well, Tevin Farmer. And yeah, I think Saturday night's a tough ask for him, if I'm totally honest. William Zepeda could be the real deal. We could be wrong. William Zepeda could be the man at lightweight. We don't know. We'll hopefully find that out in the coming years. But yeah, I think William Zepeda is a special fighter, and yeah, Tevin Farmer for me is on the slide, and this could be a breakout victory for William Zepeda. Do you know what? I will do the nice thing. I will be chivalrous, Elliot. I will go. I will give my prediction. I am high on William Zepeda. I think he'll stop Tevin Farmer. It wouldn't surprise me if it was in the first 6 rounds. As well. I'm gonna go probably around those mid rounds. I'll probably go around 6, 7, 8. But equally, as I said there, I do not be surprised if William Zepeda puts on a clinic here and gets Tevin Farmer out of there or halfway. That's no slide on Tevin Farmer. I think he's been a brilliant fighter. Nobody can ever take away from him. He won a world title, defended it, and what have you. But for me, he doesn't have that equalizer either. Obviously, fought in the lower weights. He's not going to have the power to trouble William Zepeda. I think William Zepeda could maybe just almost be a bit arrogant in a sense, and just knows that he doesn't have a whole lot of power coming back, take more risks, and ultimately I think he will land first and add a 20th knockout to his resume. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think in comparison, he's trending the wrong way in all the sort of key metrics. Like he's older, obviously he's had those losses. Zepeda's going to be he's got reach advantage, he's got a height advantage as well. He obviously, like you say, he does have that equaliser, 27 stoppages and 31 victories. So I think he's going to stop him as well. I really do. I think the stage is kind of. So I think it's really good matchmaking. To be honest with you, like you come in with Tevin Farmer, you get to sort of compare how Zepeda's going to perform to Lyson Muratalo in that division if he's right up high up on the rankings as well as Zepeda. So you'd expect possibly to come through this well, go into a title shot. So yeah, for me, I think it's a statement victory time. And I think for me, I still think Tevin Farmer's awkward though. I still think he's awkward. So over 10 rounds, I'm not going to go first half the fight. I think he might get him out there sort of 6 to 8. But I do think it'll come at some point. And if he does blast him out there in the first half, you have to hold your hands up and say fair play. But I do think for me it's gonna be second half of the fight. But I think I agree with you. I think William Zepeda KO is coming here.
We're unanimous in our thoughts on William Zepeda winning this via knockout. Guys, if you're watching this video, please let us know your thoughts on this fight and what we discussed. The whole lightweight scene, 135 pounds. Could William Zepeda be the best? Or who does beat him? Is it a Shakur, a Gervonta Davis, a Lomachenko? How do you think he fares against those kind of fighters? As always, please do subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I said, drop a comment, and we'll be back again with more preview action in the coming weeks. Elliot, thanks very much for joining me, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you very much, as always, guys. Thank you for watching.